I don't have legal guardianship of him, but for the next 48 hours, he's with me. So, and we gonna go full crazy.
I'm going crazy.
Pop superstar Justin Bieber was once mentored by Sean Diddy Combs. Now, after Combs' arrest on federal sex trafficking charges, old videos are raising questions about Combs' interactions with Bieber.
The courtroom was already on edge. The tension was thick. But everything detonated the moment Justin Bieber walked in. No one expected him to testify. No one expected him to speak. And no one was ready for what he said. Because what Bieber revealed wasn't just shocking, it was soul-crushing.
Full of videos of Sean Combs. You can't click on TikTok or X without seeing something about Diddy. It's practically all you see, and this, of course, comes after Combs' arrest on racketeering, conspiracy, and sex trafficking charges. At this point, Combs is accused of sex trafficking involving one victim, his ex-girlfriend of many years, Cassie Ventura. The indictment says the allegations date back to 2008. Combs has pleaded not guilty, and his lawyer says he hasn't committed any crimes. But there are a lot of people questioning who knew what and when, given that at least part of what Cassie Ventura claimed was backed up by a video obtained by CNN that showed Combs beating Cassie Ventura as the U.S. attorney said she tried to escape one of his freak-off sex parties. And many people are wondering whether other celebrities were a part of these freak-offs, and worse, is it possible that some people, maybe other celebrities, were actually victimized? We don't know at this point, but what we do know is that videos of Sean Combs and Justin Bieber have been all over X and TikTok for days. Specifically this one when Bieber was 15.
As soon as you turn 16, you know what I'm saying, I'm gonna let you rock this every time you come to LA. Yeah, this gonna be yours. So every time you come to LA, it's a little dusty, but you know, come get the front shot of this.
Man.
Minute.
Woo. Okay.
Okay.
All right, so I'm going to be driving this next year.
Now, that video has been viewed more than 5 million times on Justin Bieber's YouTube channel. He was 15 at the time, and he was staying with Combs for 48 hours.
You know, I have been given custody of him. You know, he signed to Usher.
I'm signed to Usher.
I had legal guardianship of Usher when you know, he did his first album. I did Usher's first album.
Justin Bieber is now a pop megastar. He's loved by fans around the world. In 2009, at the time of this video, though, he wasn't really known. He was just a kid, and his first album was coming out. Bieber is originally from Canada, and Usher signed him to manage his career. Usher actually got his start in the business through Sean Combs. He lived with him for a year when he was 13, and Usher talked about his time living with Combs on the Howard Stern show back in 2016. He was sent to what was called Puffy Flavor Camp.
And you're going to go to Puff Daddy's. He's going
in the 90s. Do you understand what that's like?
He sat down, looked straight ahead, and said in a low voice, "I saw things. I wish I could forget them." The room fell silent. Cameras weren't allowed inside, but the descriptions leaked within seconds. The jury leaned in. Diddy stared at the floor. And what followed was a story so twisted, so graphic, it left the courtroom stunned. Bieber detailed nights spent at mansions with tinted windows, security guards at every exit, and guests who weren't told what they were walking into until it was too late. He talked about being just a teen, thinking he was there for industry mentorship. What he walked into was chaos disguised as celebration. Parties with no music, just silence broken by muffled cries. Rooms where phones were locked away and rules were made to be broken. He said they called them freak-offs. And they happen more often than you'd think. He described Diddy as the ringmaster, always composed, always in control, whispering instructions, pointing out who to approach, who to pressure. And when someone hesitated, Diddy would laugh it off. But the message was always clear. Play along or disappear.
Fully the former, and like you said, the key part of that statement was denying that he was a victim, but really talking about the other victims. And it wasn't alleged victims. He said other victims. Well, through his spokesperson. So I think that is very, very important. This isn't a Michael Jackson type case where, you know, celebrities are rushing to Combs' defense. Very few people are. And the fact that you have someone come out that really isn't 50 Cent or someone who, is trying to make light of it or a documentary about it and really point the finger at Diddy, that's a big deal, Jesse.
Mm-hmm. And he mentioned harmed by him, right? It was very specific language that were genuinely harmed by him. And the shifting focus away from this reality distracts from the justice these victims rightfully deserve. There's no way to parse that language.
There isn't. And the defense is obviously trying to separate physical harm from sex trafficking and sexual assault. But, the average person who's watching isn't going to be making that distinction. That may matter in the case, but it's not going to matter in the court of public opinion.
And Bieber's statement, it comes as this TikTok started floating around on Friday. There was a doctored image of Bieber where he allegedly announces that he's going to testify against Combs, but the video was quickly debunked as fake. And Nima, you think at the end of the day, are we going to see some celebrity or celebrity friends testify at this trial?
I think we have to, because there's got to be independent witnesses that, saw some of this, right? I'm not saying maybe the actual freak-offs themselves, maybe there are other participants, but, Combs was very public, and Cassie Ventura, to the extent that she was abused, look, it's like Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, right? You got Kate Moss was brought into that case. People that are rich and famous celebrities, they have rich and famous celebrity friends, right? That's why Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni, we're talking about Taylor Swift. This is a small circle here in Hollywood. So the independent witnesses are very likely going to be other celebrities. So I think we're just starting to scratch the surface when it comes to that.
So the question becomes, why do fans believe that Justin Bieber could have been one of Sean Combs' targets, right? You mentioned it before. Well, as the legal saga against Combs ramped up last year, there was video clips that started to resurface of Combs and Bieber spending some time together. And people noticed that the videos often kind of straddled the line between awkward and inappropriate. And Bieber sometimes seemed really uncomfortable. For example, when Bieber was 15 years old, he uploaded a video to his YouTube channel called 48 Hours with Diddy. And this is where he said he was going to be hanging out with the rapper for a couple of days.
So check this out, yo. Justin, you ever seen the movie 48 Hours? Right now, he's having 48 hours with Diddy, him and his boy. They're having the times of their lives, like where we hanging out and what we doing. We can't really disclose, but it's definitely a 15-year-old's dream.
Now, some fans called out Combs for allegedly grooming behavior they say was exhibited in this video, spending time at his home with a young kid who's suddenly been thrown into the world of fame and money, taking him under his wing, offering up opportunities, maybe gifts that he could only dream of.
Yeah, so as soon as you turn 16, you know what I'm saying, I'm gonna let you rock this every time you come in LA. Yeah, this gonna be yours. So every time you come in LA, it's a little dusty, but go get the front shot of this.
Man.
Minute.
Woo. Okay.
Okay.
All right, so I'm gonna be driving this next year.
Now, look, of course, this could all be for the camera, it could be performative. Bieber could have left right after this. We don't really know, but the video made the rounds. Speculation around Combs grew. And then another clip surfaced. And this one posted to Combs' YouTube page showing another interaction, this time apparently in a studio.
What's up, man? You good?
I'm good. How are you?
All right, young brother, everything's good?
Everything's
Selling
great.
out arenas and everything? Starting to act different, huh? You ain't been calling me and hanging out the way we used to hang out.
Well, you tried to get in contact with me, through all my, partners and whatnot. Mm-hmm. But you never really got my number, so.
Right, okay.
My number?
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you my number.
Yeah. Awkward, I don't know, it could have been a joke for the cameras. Nima, what do you take away from these videos?
Yeah, it's awkward and it's weird. So, look, if it's just by itself, maybe you look past it. But there's been a lot of allegations involving minors, not in the criminal case. That hasn't been charged. That would be a game changer, but in the civil lawsuits. So I'm not saying that those are true, but sometimes when there's smoke, there's fire. And you have a lot of these civil claimants alleging that Combs is also sexually abusing men and boys and children. So
One night, Bieber said he saw a girl crying on the stairs. She tried to leave. Diddy stopped her, whispered something. She turned around and walked back in. Bieber never saw her again. The prosecutor showed messages between Diddy's team and Bieber's reps. Invites labeled as mentorship weekend, private session, and circle building. They were carefully worded, but always had one thing in common. Bieber was the youngest person on the list. He said, "At first, I thought I was special. I thought he saw something in me, but he didn't. He just saw a kid too scared to say no." He explained how the first few times he stayed in the background, but the older he got, the more Diddy pushed him forward, asked him to bring friends, said it would be fun, that it was their little secret. And when Bieber resisted, Diddy reminded him what he owed, reminded him who gave him his first stage, his first break. Bieber broke down mid-testimony, said he tried to forget it all, buried it under music, fame, substances. But the memories always came back, especially one night in New York. A penthouse party, dozens of guests, rooms with no lights, just red lamps, and a corridor Diddy told him not to go down. He went anyway. And what he saw, he never described. He just said, "It changed me. And it changed how I saw him forever." The courtroom was breathless. The prosecution then played a recording. A voicemail from Diddy to someone on his team laughing, saying, "Bieber's in deep now. He ain't going nowhere." The defense tried to spin it. Said Bieber was just a confused kid. That memories fade. That trauma plays tricks. But the jury wasn't buying it. Not after seeing the pain on Bieber's face. Not after hearing his voice crack every time he said Diddy's name. Then came the photos. Blurry, but undeniable. Diddy and Bieber together. Not backstage. Not at award shows. But at private gatherings. Surrounded by unfamiliar faces. Girls with blank stares. Security guarding the exits. One image showed Bieber sitting on a couch, Diddy leaning in, speaking directly into his ear. The prosecutor asked, "Do you remember this night?" Bieber nodded slowly. "Yeah, that's the night I stopped feeling like a kid." As he stepped down, the courtroom didn't clap. It didn't need to. His silence spoke louder than anything. His truth pierced through the walls built by years of lies. Diddy didn't look at him. Couldn't. Because in that moment, everything was laid bare. The freak-off nights weren't just rumors, they were real. And now they were part of the record. No more hiding. No more laughing it off. Because Justin Bieber spoke. And the world listened. And Diddy? He had nowhere left to run. But that wasn't the end. As the court reconvened the next day, the prosecution brought out the digital evidence. The one thing that tied everything together with brutal clarity. Screenshots, voice memos, travel itineraries. Every time Diddy reached out to Bieber, it followed a pattern. A scandal brewing, a distraction needed, and a young star caught in the middle. The jury saw a 2014 itinerary with Bieber's name on it. Destination, a private island in the Caribbean. Listed guests, high-profile names hidden under initials, but one stood out. SB, silent backup. The prosecutor explained what that meant. Bieber was never invited to be part of the fun.
Let's play that again. Some speculated that Combs was looking to see whether Bieber was wearing a wire when he patted him down. It seemed a little awkward for sure. Around this time last year, Combs and Bieber collaborated on the song Moments for Diddy's The Love album, Off the Grid. This was, of course, before the first allegations made by Cassie Ventura surfaced. Combs settled the suit with her in a day, and then the federal raid happened in March of this year. So far, Justin Bieber, like many people who know Combs, has been silent. There may be a good reason for that. He just became a father for the first time. A source close to Bieber told People he's aware of Diddy's arrest and the allegations, but added, it's not anything that he wants to focus on, though. The insider, likely Bieber's publicist, continued, saying Bieber's been in a happy bubble since baby Jack was born, and he just wants to focus on being a great dad and husband. That is also completely understandable. Justin Bieber's a first-time father. He should want to enjoy this time and cherish every moment of it. But that hasn't stopped the chatter. This TikTok video from Bieber's father-in-law, actor Stephen Baldwin, has just added to the speculation about Diddy and Bieber.
You have heard the expression, the calm before the storm. There is always a calm before the storm, but then so is there another calm after the storm. There's a calm and then a storm and then another calm.
So you get the gist. And no one knows whether Stephen Baldwin was actually referring to the Sean Combs situation or his son-in-law, Justin Bieber, but that video certainly has had people on X wondering. I want to bring in Mitra Ahorian. She is an entertainment attorney in Los Angeles. So Mitra, what are people saying out there on the street? What's the chatter in Hollywood about Sean Combs' arrest?
I think the chatter is some of what we're already hearing in the news, except that there are actual people who were at these parties who have interacted with him. Puffy was one of the, and is, we can say is, one of the most influential artists and producers in the hip hop world. We all grew up listening to his music. He's been, responsible for bringing a lot of artists, developing a lot of other artists. And so he was so tied into the celebrity world for such a long time that of course, everyone sort of interacted with him, right? The level of interaction is sort of what's going to vary. So in terms of the chatter that's going around, everyone, I think, is just thinking, oh, wow, like I've spent time with this person or I've worked with this person. And
he was there as a prop, as cover. A voice memo from Diddy to a staffer played. Don't let the kid wander. Keep him smiling. Press will be watching. And they were. Photos from that trip made headlines. Bieber jet skiing, Diddy in the background, smiling. But what no one knew was what happened when the cameras turned off. Bieber later confirmed that on that island, he was woken in the middle of the night by loud noises, screaming, not of joy, but something else. He peeked through the blinds and saw people being dragged from one villa to another. He didn't sleep the rest of the trip. He told the court, I thought it was normal. I was too young to know it wasn't. Then came the hotel files. A whistleblower from a Miami resort provided entry logs showing Bieber checked in the same night a freak-off party took place in the penthouse above. The hotel's security manager testified that the entire floor was cleared. No guests allowed near. No cameras allowed operational. When asked if Bieber attended the event, the manager hesitated, then nodded. He was there, but he didn't look like he wanted to be. More texts were shown. Diddy to his assistant. JB will show. Tell him it's a networking thing. Followed by another. Keep him relaxed. Some drinks. Maybe that girl he likes. Bieber confirmed the manipulation. Said Diddy always dangled something. An album feature, a tour invite, a high-profile collab. Said, he knew what I wanted. And he used it. The court gasped when another recording played. This one from inside a limo. Diddy and Bieber in the back seat. Diddy speaking softly. You're one of us now. You don't get to walk away. Bieber's voice was barely audible. I didn't ask for this. The silence after that was deafening. Then came the moment the courtroom felt the shift. The prosecution introduced an anonymous testimony from a female artist who had been at one of the same parties. She said she saw Bieber sitting alone, watching the madness unfold. He looked sick, out of place, trapped. She said, he looked at me like he wanted to scream, but he didn't, because he knew no one would listen. Her voice cracked, so I left. But he stayed, because he couldn't leave. The judge allowed one final piece of evidence before adjourning for the week. A handwritten letter, dated 2015, signed by Bieber, never sent, but recovered from a hotel trash bin. In it, he wrote, I want out. I can't keep pretending. They think I'm theirs, but I'm not. I just want to be me again. The jury was silent. And as Diddy sat there for the first time, he didn't look powerful. He looked exposed. Because the truth had finally spoken. And his empire, once untouchable, now stood on cracked foundations. All because one boy grew up and decided not to be silent anymore. The world watched. The industry trembled. And somewhere in that courtroom, justice began to stir. The freak-off nights weren't legends. They were memories. Dark, disturbing, real. And now they were undeniable.